And then I'm trying to think, what else? I have specific questions here. You are the insider, correct?
Okay.
Take a glass of water right now, because we're
Okay.
fine, because I got to find this right
You
here.
bet.
So by you being the insider, can we be the outsiders? Okay, so the outsiders. Do you remember that movie? Probably not.
Is that the Matt Dillon movie? And it was way
Exactly.
back?
Exactly. Matt
Yeah.
Dillon, it was Francis Ford Coppola.
Okay.
It's somehow, I forget why there were no parents, but it was somebody. Seriously, there was a family that was Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, who now does the stupid commercials.
Right. Yeah.
What are those commercials? Have you seen those commercials?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Rob Lowe, and then the youngest brother was this guy C. Thomas Howell.
Right.
And then somehow they were like the outsiders because they couldn't get in with or I forget the social people, and that was people like Leif Garrett. Do you remember Diane Lane?
Yeah.
This is when Diane Lane was like young and really.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
I didn't know she was in that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I can't forget that.
Yeah.
But the other guy that was walking around, I still don't know what he was doing in that movie. He wasn't one of the brothers, but Tom Cruise was walking around in that movie.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the point of this, I have to get to the point here eventually. Oh, that's it. Tom Cruise, this was well before he was like a Scientologist, so he was like halfway decent back then.
Yeah.
And so they were the outsiders. You're the insiders. So the outsiders are me, my brother David, who's an attorney, and also our buddy Shay Hansen. And so they follow the A's, and they have some specific questions for you.
Oh, boy, okay.
I mean, so these are tough. I mean,
Yeah.
okay. So we say, let's see, what's David saying? Ask Joe whether he draws any comparisons between the 2015 A's and the 2012 version.
I think it's a good question. And I've written about it a little bit and talked about it a little bit. I think there definitely are comparisons, at least leading into this season, because leading into the 2012 season, there were so many trades. The A's, it looked like they were just completely rebuilding. I mean, they traded in a 1-month span. They traded Gio Gonzalez, Andrew Bailey, and Trevor Cahill. 3 guys who had been all-stars in the past. Traded them all for guys you didn't know much about who they were getting. A lot of prospects, a lot of guys that seemed like fringe guys. Are they going to be able to contribute in the big leagues? Nobody knew. And that's kind of what's going on this offseason too. I mean, look who they traded. Josh Donaldson, Brandon Moss, Jeff Samardzija, all these guys. Got a bunch of young guys back. Looks like a rebuild. But, in 2012, they made some smart pickups too. In those trades, they got guys like Josh Reddick, who ended up playing a big role, obviously, in that 2012 team. Jared Parker ended up being a key starter on that team. They got Tommy Malone in the Gio Gonzalez trade. He ended up being a key guy in that rotation. This team ended up surprising everybody and winning the division title that year, where nobody expected them to do much at all. So we'll see how 2015 plays out, but it's kind of so far similar storyline that they dealt away a lot of big names. A lot of fans are really down about that. But they've gotten back some pretty decent quality too, and it's just a matter of seeing how these pieces fit together. And again, like 2012, there's not sky high expectations for this team.
Yeah.
Nobody's labeling them as division favorites, but maybe that works out for the A's. Sometimes they play better, I think, when they're the underdogs trying to prove people wrong.
Is that when they made the playoffs when Hamilton dropped the ball?
Yeah, the last game of the season,
Exactly.
they clinched the division title.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In Oakland.
In Oakland.
Okay, all right.
Swept Texas, yeah.
Okay, so no, he had another. Okay, you already covered. Ask him the prediction for the A's this year, and then you already covered this. He said, ask him whether he maintained his trust in Billy Beane in December when he traded 4 All-Stars, including fan favorite Josh Donaldson, and what appeared to be a fire sale amongst a long rebuilding stage.
Well, yeah. I'm not a fan, so it's not like I don't have placed a ton of trust in him, really. I'm covering the team, so.
See, that's it. You can. You can tell. David, I think my brother David was not pleased with these trades.
Yeah, you can tell.
So
the passion comes through.
See what I do? So I'm talking to you. I have to get to Billy Beane and ask him this question.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be difficult. But trick him and ask him
Yeah.
about him playing as like with the Mets or something, and then spring a tough
So
question.
you got to get to Jessica Alba. You got to get to Billy Beane. You got some detective work to do
well,
here.
I do. Well, I just got to connect the dots.
Right.
And actually, the one guy today? Can you get me in touch with St. Jean?
Gary St. Jean?
Yeah.
I see him a lot in the Comcast office.
Yeah, I mean, do you have like an email for him?
I don't have an email for him. I don't even have a contact number. I just see him. We pass each other in the office. He asked me about. He's a Red Sox fan. He asked me about the Boston Red Sox a little bit, and I asked him about the Warriors a lot.
Maybe that's what. Well, off the air, we'll figure this out. Because you people don't know this. Before Nelly found him, he was coaching high school basketball up in Wisconsin.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And then he just worked his way up.
Yeah.
And he'd be a good guy to talk to because I could just ask him like one question, go get a sandwich and he'd still be talking about it.
Yeah. He had a daughter that played basketball at Carondelet. You went to De La Salle, there's your connection right there.
Okay, there it is. So that's it. So I'll go through. I'll figure this out. Okay.
Right.
We're doing too much business on the air right now. It's okay. But what were we talking? Oh, these tough questions about. Yeah. What's it like? Yeah. Billy Beane. Is he accessible, or how do you? What's your relationship with Billy Beane?
He's pretty accessible. Sometimes he's busier and more available than he is at other times, but he'll return your calls. How much he tells you, he doesn't never tips his hand too much, doesn't give away too much really, but he's pretty accessible. I mean, he's different. You look at all the GMs of the game. I mean, how many of them have had a movie made about him?
Right.
Where Brad Pitt plays him and everything. So he's getting pulled. He gets pulled from a lot of different directions. I know a lot more than other GMs. Gets a lot more national media requests too, I'm sure. But no, when you're able to get him, he can carve out some time. He's pretty good. He works with you definitely.
And maybe this, I know a little bit about this by, as I said, I come to like 1 or 2 games a year. Just give people, it's not like super interested. I guess I'm interested. As I said, you get there early and tell them maybe, how do you, I'm like a detective for Comcast, making sure you spend your time. No, you work hard. I mean, you're there at 3 and you go home at 1.
Yeah, definitely. 1 in the morning sometimes. I mean, it's a long day. We've got about 45 minutes of clubhouse access that's open to the media, hours before the game. And that's the time you try to just make the most of that time as you can. You're trying to talk to players. Maybe there's a guy who's been on the disabled list and he's about ready to go on a rehab assignment. You want to know, how are you feeling? How's your arm feeling? How many rehab games do you need to play in the minors? When should we expect you back in the majors? You're trying to find out that kind of nuts and bolts information for your daily coverage, but also maybe there's an off day coming up in 3 days from now, and I got to have a story ready for that off day. Just because there's no game, I still have to have a story ready. So you're trying to find any kind of story you can write. So I've got to get the legwork done, the reporting for that off day story. It can't happen on the off day because those guys are off traveling to the next city. So I'm trying to get them a few days in advance. Who am I going to write about? Trying to get an interview with that player to get quotes from him. Interview his teammates. Who else do I want to talk about him? So you're trying to gather all this information during this window of time when you have access to these players, not just to write stories for that day, but to plan ahead for a couple days later. So we're just constantly trying to talk to players and hoping you see them sitting there available in front of their locker and you can get to them.
I remember, I think it's Mark Mulder who told an interesting story. Because now I think he's like you. He's on TV.
Yeah.
And he says how when he was playing, he didn't treat the reporters very well. They'd ask if you have a moment, and he claimed he didn't. And now looking back, he did. And you see these guys doing. I remember this story. I'm like an elephant. I remember everything. Somehow, 1998, we're allowed to go over and cover the A's. And I think I talked to I think Kevin Mitchell was like winding down his career. He was on the team. But then there was this guy, Ed Sprague, who had like won 2 World Series with the Toronto.
Yeah.
And I remember, this was before the computers. Ed Sprague was sitting on a stool by himself in front of his locker. And I say, Ed, do you have a couple minutes? And he says, no, I want to read the newspaper. Exactly. But the long story short, Ed Sprague did end up on that list of steroid people.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know. But maybe that day he didn't have enough time. He had to read whatever he was reading. But I thought that was pretty funny.
Sign of the times. I don't see too many guys sitting there reading newspapers right now. They're all on their, iPads.
Yeah, exactly.
Tablets and stuff.
Or this stuff here. I don't know where this is. This was even unscheduled. But you're talking about the changing of media. Where is it? Here. I'm going to have to reach over and hand this to you. It's the bottom paragraph there about Bob. We'll get to that in a second, because that's also like I'm good friends with Scooter Berry, who was in the that's Rick's oldest boy.
Yeah.
And he was the ball boy in '75.
Okay.
And he sat on the bench. There's still ball boys, but he sat on the bench. He thought he was on the team. And the point of this story is, I remember seeing when they won at the Capitol Center. They run in the locker room, and it's like a high school facility. I mean, there's just all these metal lockers. Things are hanging on hooks, and as I said, when I was doing stuff in the '90s, it wasn't pedestrian, but the lockers, there was no technology, and now it's big money. But read about hold it up. This is the Indiana Pacers, and read this paragraph about this is 1978, it's 40 years ago. But read who the assistant general manager.
This is a bio of Bob Leonard, who at that time was a general manager and coach of the team. And it says down at the bottom of this, it says when he's not around to get business done, his wife Nancy does as assistant general manager. Mrs. Leonard is entirely responsible for the day-to-day operations of the organization. So
Yeah, and that's
shows
all,
you how
and
things have
raises,
changed.
she also raises the kids.
Yeah, when she's not busy raising their 5 children, she's busy being the assistant GM of an NBA basketball team.
Could you imagine that? You call her, you're like, I don't know, you're the San Antonio Spurs, you want to work on a trade.
Right.
She's like, I'll get back to you. I'm picking the kids up at school.
Right,
Yeah, I mean,
right,
I mean,
yeah.
and now, because how many people work? I mean, hundreds work
Yeah,
for the A's. I mean,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then I'm trying to think what else to talk about.
You mentioned the Berry family, just real quick to bring it back to Antioch and De La Salle,
Yeah.
because we always got to bring it back to Antioch and De La
Well,
Salle
we have
somehow.
to do that, yes.
Drew Berry, his younger brother,
Exactly.
was a stud basketball player.
Right.
When I was at Antioch,
Right.
playing, then it was the BVAL, and
Right.
I remember Drew and the Spartans coming to play at Antioch High's gym, and Rick Berry was up in the stands watching. So
Right,
I was
okay.
thinking, boy, do I go get his autograph? And
Yeah.
I mustered up the courage to go up there. I had a little
Yeah.
basketball program.
Yeah,
He
right.
signed it for me. And
Right.
something I always remember was Rick Berry actually
Yeah.
signed it for me.
Yeah,
Signed an
exactly.
autograph
Yeah.
in the Antioch High gym. So that was pretty cool.
No, and the Berry family, I mean, these Kardashians are on TV and they don't do anything. They don't do squat. I mean,
Right.
other than walk around and look good.
Right.
And I know I'm all over the place. Like I'm on the airplane and they have TVs now. And so I'm watching Sports Center like for 3 straight hours, right?
Right.
Somehow I switched the channel to the E channel. And I'm watching these Kardashians.
Yeah.
And this guy next to me is looking at me with hate, like, what am I doing? And I said, give me a break. I've memorized the Sports Center and I'm just seeing
Yeah.
what's going on here. And literally, I don't know, there's like a birthday party in the show and they couldn't get a cake. And I was thinking it was like a big fiasco. We just go to another place.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Kardashians. I mentioned, Jessica Alba. I don't want to talk to the Kardashians.
Right.
Forget them. But
Yeah.
but the Berries. I mean, there's Scooter Berry, who won an NCAA
Right.
championship at Kansas.
Yeah.
Brent Berry, 2-time NBA champion, slam dunk
champion.
Okay.
Yeah. Oregon State, right?
And Oregon State, yeah. There's an interview of him there. Brent Berry's a great guy and still the same guy. In fact, I reminded of this when I talked to him. He has I said 2-time NBA champion, slam dunk champion, but the one thing he doesn't have is the 1988 De La Salle JV MVP. My buddy John Palio has that. See?
Okay.
Yeah, and he remembers that. Okay. And then actually skipped a brother. John Berry was older than
I remember
Brent.
watching him play at Georgia Tech.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Drew at Georgia Tech too, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So not too shabby. And
Right.
the Scooter played for years overseas, and
Yeah.
now I'll go talk to them because they run a camp over there. It's called the Berry Brothers Camp.
Yeah.
And they all show up and give instruction. And Brent was like sick, and he still came because he said,
Right.
Brian, if I say I'm going to do something,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And
Wow.
and also he had a great quote where he's now a surfer. He is 6'7", but people when they're on the beach there at Hermosa Beach, they don't know he played in the NBA, and he likes that. He said, Brian, I like people to know what I'm doing now, not what I did.
Right.
See,
Yeah.
and
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, go ahead. I talk so long. Get something to drink there. Yeah. So is this? I say you work hard at Comcast, but nobody's ever put you under interrogation quite like this.
No.
No, exactly.
No. This is heavy duty stuff.
And exactly. And it's there's not going to be any edits. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. It's all about the content.
Right.
And even this, I think who's that guy from The Hangover? Zach Galifianakis, the guy with the beard.
Something like that. Yeah.
He does a show called Between Two Ferns. Is this at your house? Is that a real? You have to water that, or?
I work hard to keep this fake plant alive.
Okay, that's it. Well, you don't have time. You're always at the ballpark.
That's right.
Yeah, and then also it's spring. Talk about spring training. What goes on down there?
Yeah, I'll be going there in a couple weeks here. Spring training is something. 6 weeks, the center of the baseball world is, Florida and Arizona. And, there's no better place to be during the month of March than Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Scottsdale, Phoenix, Tempe area. The weather's great. All these fans come down there, pack the ballparks and everything. It's just a great, relaxed vibe to watch baseball in.
Right.
And the ballparks are smaller, more intimate and everything.
Right.
So fans can get closer to the players, better chance to get autographs before games, souvenirs and stuff. It's good for me because the players just arrived from the off season. They're relaxed. They're ready. It's a fresh start for them. They're ready
Right.
to talk, give you all the time you want.
Right.
With the A's, there's always a lot of new guys to meet, especially this year. There'll be so many new players, so much roster turnover. So I'll spend spring training writing stories, talking on the air about the new guys and getting to know them and tell
Right.
their stories and
Right.
just trying to, give fans a window into their personalities and stuff. But it's fun. It's very relaxed. Before the games start, it's early work days for me. During the season, it's funny. For a night game, I show up to the park at 3 p.m. and stay until midnight or
Right.
12:30 maybe. At spring training, the schedule flips upside down. The clubhouse is open at 8 a.m.
Wow.
We have access from 8 a.m. to maybe 9:15 or 9:30 until they're out on the field.
Yeah.
and then they're out there working out. And once games start, they do a morning workout before their game at 1 o'clock. They'll be out there doing a practice,
Right.
at 9:30 in the morning. And it's funny, in spring training, you see these major league teams, they're out there doing drills that high school and college teams are doing. They're doing a lot of infield work, a lot of fundamental type stuff that you don't see them do during the regular season, but it's really fun to watch, actually.
Here's a question. If it's split squad, where do you go?
Good question. As a reporter, where do you go? The rule of thumb is you go to the team that the manager's watching.
Okay, I got you.
And usually, if we're lucky, if one game is at their home stadium and one game is like an hour's drive away in Surprise, Arizona, hopefully the manager is staying in, in Mesa or in Phoenix, wherever the A's home stadium is.
I got you.
Yeah.
And then who does it? Is it the bench coach who's in charge of that?
Yeah. Good knowledge. Good knowledge. The bench coach is usually the manager of the other split squad team.
See, I know the bench coach over at the Giants. It's my buddy Ron Wotus.
Oh, there you go.
Okay?
Yeah.
And no, he's a legend. I mean, he's lived out here 25 years because of his wife Lori. I mean, and he worked his way up.
Yeah.
San Jose Giants manager.
Yeah.
Shreveport Captains or whatever they were.
Right.
And then he was the last manager in the history of the Phoenix Firebirds.
Okay.
And what I like about him is you can learn how to work in an office because he's worked for 3 different managers. Yeah. Dusty Baker hired him.
Yeah.
Then he had to work. We worked for Felipe Alou, and now it's Bochy.
Bruce Bochy.
And
He's
so,
been through,
so I don't have the budget. So if I went down to spring training, I could see Wotus in charge.
Yeah.
At a split squad.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's another thing. The bench coach is, for most teams, is in charge of. He's kind of the spring training coordinator. He maps out the days, builds the daily schedule for the team. That's usually a big job. That's how the A's do it. I assume the Giants do it that way too. Maybe the bench coach is in charge of that. And they map out from the morning all through the afternoon, when guys are going to be in the weight room probably, when they're out taking infield, when they're going to be in the batting cage, that kind of thing.
Right. And so now I have a reason to go talk to Ron. I have inside knowledge. I can ask him. He has a lot of responsibility in the spring.
Absolutely.
And during the games.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. How many World Series did the Giants, how many parades down Market Street did the Giants have before Ron Wotus joined the team?
In San Francisco, not too many.
Yeah.
None.
Well, actually,
0, right?
It should be 0.
Yeah.
That's a trick question.
Okay.
1958, they come to town. They have a parade. They don't win anything.
Okay.
They get a parade for coming to town.
Just for showing up.
Just for showing up. Willie Mays comes to town. They Dusty Rhodes, all those guys go down Market Street. So they have a parade coming to town. They don't have another parade until, when did they win? 2010 or something like that? Or hold on, we can figure it out. It's every
2010, yeah.
Exactly. 2010, 12, and 14.
Right.
Exactly. So Ron Wotus, he probably gets tired of meeting Obama.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
That's a good problem to have.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What else? Oh, here. Let me refer. So my other buddy Shay Hansen, because as I said, we are the outsiders. But we're not going to wear like those guys. They always. Well, I'm wearing jeans. They always jeans and white T-shirts and I don't know what. Refer to that movie. The other guy, Francis Ford Coppola. Maybe we'll go up to Napa and find him. He's runs like a vineyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So hold on. Let's see what Shay's like. David. They watch. Well, here's another thing. When we talk about people getting paid to watch, you get paid to watch. The only guy that does better than you is Chuck Barney. Do you know about this? Chuck Barney now covers TV. So Chuck Barney, tell people who that was. He's a sports.
Chuck Barney, I remember him when he was the Warriors beat writer. I used to read him covering the Warriors. Yeah.
Right. No. So the point being, his wife Diane would say, at least when you cover the Warriors, you had to leave the house, drive somewhere, and sit there. Now he just has to get out of bed. Yeah, and exactly. And so that's Chuck Barney.
Yeah.
But, okay, hold on. So what does Shay say here? Oh, no, actually, David had a question. More. He says, my brother David, ask him where he thinks the A's will be. Will they be in Oakland in 10 years?
Wow. Something tells me yes.
Okay.
And they've been looking for a stadium for how many years now, and there's been absolutely no movement. I mean, nothing. The San Jose thing's not happening right now. There's more talk now about maybe getting a ballpark built on the new Coliseum site, and it seems like the new mayor in Oakland, wants to do it.
Yeah.
And Lou Wolf, the owner, seems, like he wants to do it. And the new commissioner seems like he wants to keep, Rob Manfred seems like he wants to keep the A's in Oakland too. So I think they'll be in Oakland, just no matter what ballpark will they be in.
Actually,
will they still be in the Oakland Coliseum, or will they have a new ballpark somewhere in Oakland?
David, he is a very good outsider. He has a follow-up question here. Look at this. He says, ask him whether he thinks new stadium on the waterfront in Oakland will go a long way toward attracting the critical mass of fans the A's need to sustain success.
Yeah, that's such a tough question, a hypothetical question, because it seems like from the A's standpoint, I don't think they want to build down there.
Right.
I think if any stadium gets built, it's going to have to be probably on the current Coliseum site. It'd be really nice to have a ballpark down there on the water somewhere.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's going to be in the cards really.
Right. Okay. And then see, that's why I have to have another follow-up question, but instead, Shay Hansen has questions here. So
Okay.
So here's one. Let's see here. Oh, do you agree with Bean's assessment that the A's would not have made the playoffs without Lester last year?
That's a tough one too.
So I got tough questions here.
Yeah, boy, yeah, you put me on the spot here. You know what? It's tough to say. I don't know. I think they definitely would have had a shot.
Right.
I think they would have had a shot to make the playoffs.
Right.
But when that trade was made, I thought it was a good trade. I thought it was a good trade from a baseball standpoint.
Right.
I really thought it was a good trade because I thought their starting rotation needed help at that time.
Right.
They were running on fumes a little bit. I thought even after the Samardzija trade, I thought it was good to add a guy like Jon Lester.
Yeah.
So would they have made the playoffs without Lester? I think they definitely had a shot to.
Right.
But I think I was like everybody else thinking they're a lot better equipped for the playoffs
Right.
having Jon Lester.
Sure.
They didn't get it done in that wild card game. He didn't pitch his best game.
Yeah.
They were leading when he left the game.
Right.
They definitely had enough offense. The bullpen couldn't quite close it out
Yeah.
either, but it would have been really interesting. It was a shame they didn't win that game
Yeah.
because, it would have been good to see them moving forward against the Angels.
Right. Absolutely.
Having the starting pitching they did and coming off a good offensive game like they had in Kansas City in that wild card
Yeah.
game.
I just thought of a good follow-up question.
Yeah.
So you're there in the wild card watching Kansas City.
Yes.
Then you're back in Kansas City when the Giants are there.
I was in Kansas City 3 times in like a 1 month span.
That must be like a record.
In the month of October, yeah.
Like you and Joe Montana years ago.
Right, yeah.
But you probably had you had no idea at that wild card game that the World Series would be in Kansas City.
Who knew?
Who knew? They must have been going nuts in Kansas City.
They really were. I mean, you talk about a city and a community that just got emotionally involved in its team. It was like a college, like a college community that gets wrapped up in its college team. That's what the Kansas City was like at that time. Such a Cinderella story for that team. I mean, look at all the years of losing. They had not won anything at all, leading up to this year, and all of a sudden they make this World Series run. So no, that was something. And I remember the atmosphere for that wild card game against the A's was probably really unlike anything I had experienced at a baseball game up to that point. It was just so. And even when the A's had a pretty sizable lead, the crowd was still so into the game, and you had a feeling the Royals felt like they had a chance to make a comeback, and everybody in that stadium kind of felt like that too. Now, what A's fans want to hear right now, definitely.
No. If that game was in Oakland, the A's win that. I think the crowd made the difference.
Definitely, I think it made a big difference. Yeah, absolutely.
This is obscure. Do you know about Marlins Man?
No.
No, you don't see it on TV. You'll have to Google this guy. That's where my brother found him. So everyone there in Kansas City, behind the plate, when you can see who's sitting, like the 20 fans behind the plate.
Yeah.
They're all in blue, except for this one guy in orange.
Right.
And my brother Googles him. This guy has so much money. He's a Marlins fan. He goes to all the games. So he ended up at the World Series. He'd travel, and he always want those seats.
Right.
Because I'm talking about him because every pitch he's on TV. I mean, do you follow what I'm saying? I mean, okay, this is obscure. I don't know. You don't have to write a story about Marlins Man, but that guy was.
Yeah.
He went to as many games as you did.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean,
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
But you were getting paid, and he was paying a lot to be there.
He was paying a lot to be there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You had the better deal. Yeah. And here's one. Shay says, who are the A's planning on using as their full-time closer, Clippard or Doolittle? Does it depend on Doolittle's recent injury?
Yeah, it definitely does. That has everything to do with it. I think if Doolittle's healthy, I think he's the closer. But right now, he's got this, slight rotator cuff tear, and all the A's know right now is he's not going to be ready for the start of the season. So that's kind of a mystery going into spring training right now is who's going to be the closer until Doolittle gets back. But I would think going in, Tyler Clippard has the inside track on it just because he's got some experience closing back in 2012. The A's have other guys that have closing experience too. I would think maybe Clippard will be the first give the first crack at it. But we'll find that's something we'll find out. Something I'll be asking Bob Melvin early in spring training for sure.
Right. You have to tell him that Shay Hansen told you to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. No. No, not that you wouldn't have thought that on your own.
Exactly.
Yeah. Feel free to use any of these questions on Comcast Sportsnet.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Exactly.
You're giving me some good ideas here.
Exactly. Here's another one. What is the planned role for Jared Parker upon his return? As history shows, pitchers coming back from a second Tommy John surgery have not been very successful as starters.
It's tough. He's facing some odds to come back and be the same guy he was probably. But if Jared does make it back all the way 100% healthy, I mean, the plan is definitely, I think, to get him back in that starting rotation. He's got a lot of talent. He's got great stuff. He's a young guy still, but he's already pitched so many big games for them. So once he's healthy, I think he'll definitely be back in that rotation, I think.
And then Shay, it says right here, and you said, we talked off there, but maybe you can put me in touch. Who can we find? He says, Shay says, definitely want to know the A's stance on the Giants taking over the Sacramento River Cats. How badly do the A's actually want to keep their connection with the River Cats?
Yeah,
that's above your pay grade. Right?
Yeah, that's not even something that I've covered that much, really. But I think the A's, I mean, from what I heard from the front office, they would have liked to have stayed in Sacramento. Right. Just didn't work out. I guess the River Cats, wanted
the River. I think that's the problem that we talked about. This the Northern California is turning orange and black. I mean, I grew up here, and the Giants always had the peninsula.
Yeah.
We had the East Bay. Now the Giants bring their World Series championship to Walnut Creek.
Right.
They bring it to Richmond. I mean, I told my brother, "What's next? Are you going to bring it to 12th Street in Oakland?" Yeah. Did you ever? Did you ever play Risk? Maybe not. The game of world domination.
I've never played it, but I remember there was a Seinfeld episode having to do with the game of Risk.
There it is.
I've never played it myself.
Yeah, the Ukraine was weak.
Right.
Yeah. Well, see, I'll have to teach you. No, that's it. You had to take over the world, and you could start out. Then when you're down to like one country or something, you're losing territory.
Right.
That's what's happening to the A's.
Yeah.
They're losing area. But I don't know what my point is, other than we can Google Seinfeld and they're playing Risk on the subway.
Yeah,
and the guy
exactly.
the guy from me said
Ukraine pounds the board.
Exactly.
Right?
Says Ukraine is weak.
Yeah.
I am from the Ukraine. We are not. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. No. This is wonderful, Joe. I mean,
Don't get me talking about Seinfeld. We'll get off on a tangent.
Okay. No. But that's a good. I'm trying to think how we wrap up. Is there anything that you see? Because I interrogated my joke, but anything you would like to add?
Oh my gosh, it's fun. No, it's fun talking about Antioch roots and growing up and everything.
That's the key.
And
go back to that. Exactly.
Yeah, and just kind of being, it's just fun. And I said this today. I got hired at the Ledger, my first full-time newspaper job. That I grew up in this area, and it's cool to be back. And then I was saying it was cool to be back in my hometown covering local sports. And now, now I'm covering the A's. A little bigger team, obviously, but still the same feeling. I grew up in the Bay Area, grew up going to a lot of A's and Giants baseball games, and now just to be covering them is great. I mean, it's great. It's great meeting all these players. People ask me, "Do you get starstruck talking to some of these players?" I'm like, I don't get starstruck talking to the players, but I get kind of starstruck talking to a lot of the guys on the A's coaching staff now, because all the coaches, the guys who are coaches on major league coaching staffs now, are the guys that I grew up getting baseball cards of. They were playing them, Mike Yago and Kurt Young and Chili Davis and Bob Melvin and all these guys. It's great getting a chance to talk to these guys on a professional level now. And I grew up watching them on TV and collecting baseball cards of them and everything. And talking. Ricky Henderson's at A's spring camp every year. And just getting to talk to him for a few minutes. He would be way back in the day, on his way to spring training, he would drive to Arizona. He would stop in Antioch at a place called the Batting Shack. At that time, it was the only indoor batting cage in the area, and sometimes Ricky Henderson, Mike Davis, and Dwayne Murphy would all come and take swings in the Batting Shack on their way to spring training. So I got to meet a couple of those guys way back then.
Sure.
And now occasionally I get to interview them. So it's really, really cool experience for me to be able to do all this. So
where was Tony Armas? Was he in Venezuela?
He may have been at that time, but the first A's game I ever remember going to as a fan, I think the outfield was Tony Armas, Dwayne Murphy, Ricky Henderson. That's way back when, but I still have memories of that.
Yeah, and as I was saying, you're sitting there in this Gary Peterson told me he knew he was sitting there in 1972 reading about the Giants. Bob Stevens. Who is this Bob Stevens? When did you realize you could make a career in journalism?
I don't know when I realized I could first make a career out of it, but I remember, I think I remember being in like elementary school, and just before I went to class, we subscribed to the Oakland Tribune, and I'd read the Tribune sports page. And I remember Dave Newhouse was the first columnist that I remember reading, So I've gotten to work alongside him and gotten to talk to him since then. But that's the first memories of that. I mean, going way back when, I thought it was cool. Wow, people are writing their opinions about sports. That's pretty amazing.
Right.
I don't know when I realized really the whole journalism thing kicked in, and wow, you can make a career out of this. But I remember my dad taking me to a Warriors game and saying, "Yeah, look, those are the sports writers down on press row."
Yeah.
And they all had their little computers there at press row. I just thought that was the coolest thing. It's like, wow,
absolutely.
that's how they do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then I think you told me you were doing writing for the Times, covering the A's. were a guest maybe on Comcast Sports a few times.
Yeah,
and then that you made. How did you make? Did they recruit you? How did you?
I had left. I left the Times, and I started freelance. I just decided. You know what? I'm ready for a different challenge.
Yeah,
I thought I
okay.
wanted to do something similar, but wasn't quite sure how I was going to stay. You know, in the sports journalism world.
Right.
And so I was freelance writing for a lot of people, and started working for Comcast just on a freelance basis a little bit.
Right.
Covering A's and Giants games for them, and then eventually they put me in front of the camera a little bit,
Right.
and it just started snowballing from them. And
Right.
I had an opening,
Right.
something opened up, and
Right.
I started covering the A's more and more from them,
Right.
and so just kind of went from there.
If the higher ups see this, they might give you your own hour show. Maybe.
Oh, we'll see.
I mean,
we'll see.
I mean, yeah, well,
Yeah.
exactly, and see, also, I know I actually today is when I got to get to work, but see, I'm smart. See, I know I talk a lot. I made sure my memory card there was only like 50 minutes.
Okay.
And it's running out, so that's it. That's good. See, that means we literally have to stop soon.
Yeah.
Within 2 minutes here. So
Right.
I'm trying to think. Maybe Joe, that's what we'll do. We'll stay in touch. But as you said, you're busy, and so maybe that's what we do. See, if I have questions from like Shay and David, I'll text them to you. And
Right.
see, that's it. And then you can use them. You don't have to say where they're from. But
Right.
we're watching TV and say, wow, we got the answer. Or if you don't get, you can give us the answer. See, it's quite a good deal we have here. Knowing you, we can get information that other people can't.
21st century communication. That's how we can do it now. You guys can text me this
absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
No, I appreciate this.
Yeah.
I said Antioch, all the way to the Coliseum, and getting paid to cover sports. I mean, you and Gary Peterson and all these other guys. I mean, you guys figured it out.
It's fun stuff.
Okay,
It's fun stuff. Good talking to you, Brian.
You bet. It was a fun day, and
You bet.
we'll do it again when you have time. Okay,
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
All right.